Hi, everyone. All right. I'm here to talk to you about chapter 4. And today we're going to be talking about the philosophy of childhood. So just a moment. I need to share my screen. Sorry. All right, here we go. And I need to do this. All right, so this is Gary Landreth's view of children. And as you have previously been introduced, he is one of the leading play therapists in the country. So first and foremost, a good rule of thumb is that what's most important about children can only be learned from children. Children bring to the relationship with a therapist a rich tapestry of emotional possibilities from which they weave the intricacies of their personalities. The direction these emotional possibilities take is affected by the person of the therapist, the kinds of the responses the therapist makes, and what children sense in the therapist. So we've talked before about client-centered play therapy as being based on the belief that people are self-actualizing, self-directing, and that they genuinely have the tools to create the lives that are most fulfilling to them. It's not our job as person-centered therapists or child-centered play therapists to be particularly directive, to push them in a direction, or to have our own agenda. So the whole idea here is that you need to get to know the child completely for who they are and be accepting and loving toward that child. Okay. So Gary Landreth's tenets for relating to children are that children are not miniature adults, so they should not be treated as such. They have different levels of development, different, stages, different personalities, and that we need to treat them for who they are, which are children. Children are people. Children are unique and worthy of respect. Children are resilient. So Gary Landreth discusses our deep need to believe in them, to believe that they can grow, that they can succeed, and that the relationship itself can be the vehicle for that. Children have an inherent tendency toward growth and maturity, so they're constantly naturally moving in that direction all the time. Excuse me. Children are capable of positive self-direction. Children's natural language is play. Children have the right to remain silent. So, we talked before about how toys are the language of children. So toys are their words. So that being said, they can stay silent at any time. They may need that silence to work through something, or maybe they're communicating through their play or through their toys. So we never want to get discouraged or frustrated if a child isn't speaking much, because remember, their words are not even necessarily their primary language. They may be articulate and be able to share a lot with you through their words, but they're also going to share with you just as much through their play, if not more. Children will take the therapeutic experience where they need to be. So again, with this philosophy, we are not the experts. We do not know best. The child is constantly growing into themselves, and they're growing into who they need to become. And therefore, we are facilitators. We are relationship builders. But all we do is create a space for them to do their own growing. We don't assert that we know best or that we have the answers or the tools. So we need to trust the process, allow it to unfold, and let it unfold naturally the way that the child chooses. Children are resilient. So I'm sure you've heard this before, but children definitely have the ability to heal, and they're all different. They're not just products of their environment. So I know a lot of you maybe work in some tough environments and work with children who maybe struggle with a variety of things from, possibly poverty or, a one-parent household home, or a combination of those things, or maybe a variety of other things like parental incarceration or the death of a parent or sibling, or a variety of traumas or adverse childhood experiences that could impact their ability to function naturally and normally. And Gary Landreth talks a lot about how if given the right conditions, children will just naturally grow into who they need to become. But that's not to say that there aren't barriers to that development. These, adverse childhood experiences or traumas or negative environmental factors can impact the child. However, every child is different and unique. So there are many children who experience these negative experiences in their childhood that come out just fine. Some children are abused and they become more resilient. There is a concept called post-traumatic growth, and a lot of times people learn from those experiences and become stronger and better. We also know that a variety of people are impacted negatively by these experiences. And so as a therapist, we want to provide a safe therapeutic relationship that is based on allowing for the full autonomy of the child, because the belief is that children will work through these unconscious struggles or the emotional struggles that they may have in their life. And they'll do so with someone they feel safe and in an environment that feels safe. So if we just create that environment and that relationship, then the child will do the rest. So we have to be forward thinking, and we have to believe in their resilience though. So if we, are stuck in the past, or we start to lose faith in their ability to self-direct and self-actualize and self-heal, then we will get stuck in a pattern of trying to fix. And we are not fixers. We are facilitators and relationship makers. So some signs of resilience are that they're self-directed, that they have a high self-regard, inner motivation, and sense of personal identity. Children are fun. They're joyful, and they approach life with exuberance. Children are deprived of joy when they're rushed to complete tasks or they're hurried to grow. Children are trusting and therefore vulnerable, which is why we have a responsibility to protect them, to keep them safe, and to be trusting, positive people in their lives. Trust is really important, and adults need to uphold levels of trust with children. So that's why we can't say things like, it's going to be okay. Because what if they go home and things aren't okay again? We can't control their outward environment, and we break trust with people when we say things like, oh, it's going to be okay, or you're going to get better, I promise. We don't want to make promises we can't keep. And children live in the present. They're not really focused on the past. They're not really thinking about the future. They're living in the moment. And that's why through play, they often may work out things from their past, or even fears they have for their future, but in a concrete way in the present. Some children are like popcorn. Others are like molasses. Children already have everything they need to grow into what they're meant to become. It doesn't mean that they always move at our pace, though, as therapists. So we as therapists must be supportive that some children are like popcorn. They're fast-paced, exuberant, moving quickly from task to task and place to place. They may grasp concepts quickly, or they may just move from one concept to another. Some children are like molasses. They're slow moving on the outside, but processing and functioning well on the inside. So this means that maybe they're taking in their whole environment. They may be internalizing and processing first instead of being an externalizing processor like the popcorn kids. And some are like mushrooms. One day they're operating at a certain level, and the next day they bloom overnight and they blossom. But as therapists, we need to be patient and adapt to them all. We need to be accepting of all kinds of kids. and trust that they will develop at the rate that's appropriate for them. Well, that is all I have for you for chapter 4. And next we will move on to chapter 5 and continue to learn how we can support children through play therapy. Hope you all have a great day. And I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. And I'll see you soon. All right. Thank you. Have a good day.